Hi there, everybody. Hi. Yes, my name is Fred, and I'm here to do a webinar called Provide a Leadership Across the Organization. And we'll be covering a lot of leadership styles. We'll be discussing with you what you need to do as regarding completion of your assignments. And so as we begin this, we want to take you to our PowerPoint. Here we go straight away. We're going to go to our PowerPoint and let's begin this journey. This is an exciting journey. This will show you how you can deal with different leadership styles and also discuss how best you can answer these questions. Right, so there are 3 assessments here in this unit, first, second, and third. And let's just talk about what are these assignments, what do they conclude of or consider of. What is today's purpose? Today's purpose is we're going to talk about how to answer the questions. We're just going to break down the assessment for you, the unit for you, making it easier for you to understand and comprehend it so that you can be able to get down and complete the assessment successfully. That is our goal. That is our way. That is what we want you to do, to be successful, to be on top, to be the winners in this game. Right. So how will the session run? Session run like this. I will go through the assessments and find out what the assessments are looking for and where you can get material and what links you need to find out or to go into. And there's a case study involved in this assessment. So you'll have to read the case study and we'll give you links, we'll give you passwords to do this case study. And then most of the questions are referring to that study. So, you know, it's not something that you're going to have to make up, but you'll be given direction on what to do. How can I get the best out of this webinar? Well, what you need to do is got to have your LMS open, you've got to have your notebook, got to have a pen, you've got to have your assessments ready right in front of you so that as we discuss this, you can really refer to the material and get a better understanding of where we are. And always remember, before you start listening to the webinar, go through the assessments, go through the questions, make sure you've got the right templates required, the right appendices required, the right matrices there in front of you, so that as I go through in sort of explaining to you what's required, you can be referring to material, think, yes, I read about that. Yes, I read about that. No point in you trying to listen to the webinar when you haven't read the assessments, when you haven't read the unit to find out what's required of you. What happens after the webinar? You guessed it right. After the webinar, you're going to have to get down and do the assessments. Of course, you're going to do it successful. Of course, you're going to do it very well. Of course, in being intelligent as you are, being clever as you are, there's no way you can get it wrong. The webinar will just help you to point you in the right direction. Let's get started. Let's get started. Okay, in assessment overview. Right, so what do we have to do in our assessment? Assessment 1, it's got leadership theories and leadership audits, for the personal leadership audit. So what are we going to talk about? Leadership theories. There are different theories there about leadership, and in this assessment there are specific theories that they want you to understand, that they want you to refer to in the assessment, and always read the questions. When it says give us this, give them what they're looking for. Don't give them what you want, give them what they want. And there's a personal leadership audit that you've got to go through, assessing yourself, what sort of leader you are, what are the things that you do well, what are the things that you don't do well, and what are the things probably that you need to be looking out for. And this also helps you in your personal development and developing your leadership styles. Everybody's got a leadership style. Sometimes you're just not aware what it is, and maybe you've never had a test done on your leadership qualities. And everybody's got some way and some preferences of how they like to lead a team, or how they like to lead their friend, or how they like to be led. There's also a style that probably is much more preferable to you, that if you come across a person who leads you in a particular style, you respond much better, it gets the best out of you, you excel in whatever you're doing. Assessment 2, it talks about, there's this case study, which I was talking about, and Rakit Banksa. And this talks about strategy, leadership, and the company culture. So most of the questions that you get in assessment 2 are referring this case study. And it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. So, you know, very educative of how teams and organizations run and develop and grow and how they're led. And it's just going to give you an insight into how organizations are run. And assessment 3, gonna create a speech. So people always say to me, what do I do with this speech? So now in this speech, all what they need you to do is, you might have to record it, yes. And unless if you can come into class and read the speech to your mentor, to your trainer, so that then they can give you feedback on what it is. If you can't come into the class, if you can't come in there, you know, use an audio, record it on audio. If you want to record it on video, why not? I send it in, and then the marker will then determine and tell you, well, these are the things that you need to do. Remember, it's just a short introductory speech. Anyway, more on that when you get to assessment 3. Right now, let's go and see what assessment 1 is looking for. Assessment 1, and let's go and open it now and see. Let's start on your new share, and let's go to assessment 1. Right, assessment task 1. So the assessment has 2 parts, A and B. And the instructions to complete this assessment are included in the following page. There you go, and now we go to assessment task 1. So you need pens, paper, workbook. Effective leadership questionnaire is in here. These are the resources given. Leadership style inventory is given in here. Training needs analysis and personal development plan. So requirements. This assessment requires the student to do the following. Number 1, leadership theory, right? So it's effective leadership questionnaire that is in the document there. And number 2, personal leadership audit. So the personal leadership audit is going to conduct self-analysis and assessment and complete a leadership plan. And so scan and paste the result from A and B into documents, effective leadership questionnaire, and upload them to task 1. So what's the criteria? Questionnaire answers should demonstrate sufficient knowledge of subject matter and personal leadership audit, and should demonstrate actual networking. And then we go to leadership theory. So on leadership theory, what are the questions? So you got to answer the question, insert your name. So generally, it's simply following the instructions on that form and reading and answering and following those instructions, doing whatever is required. And so the key thing in the leadership questionnaire says, provide an overview of leadership styles and models. So you're going to have to go and research the types of various leadership models that are there, various leadership styles that are there. There's a guy who went into a research called Goleman, G-O-L-E-M-A-N, Goleman. So you can research on Goleman. He produced a list of leadership styles, the advantages and the disadvantages of those leadership styles, and he wrote a whole model on this. And so Goleman is a credible author, is well trusted in the academic world, and most of his theories are being used today. So in this assessment, your responses, I'll underline that, so for your own benefit, so that you are aware what will be expected here. Your responses may include Fiedler's contingency model of leadership. So you definitely have to bring in the model of leadership by Fiedler, and Hansel Blanchard situational leadership theory, or House path goal leadership theory, or another theory. So you really got to answer this question by explaining to us what Fiedler's contingency theory model is, and what is Hansel Blanchard situational leadership. And you can pick any. If you're not comfortable with this, feel free to research. There are so many other leadership styles that you can come up with and that are available. And once you've done that, number 2, you're going to explain how we will help your team progress to the next stage of the team cycle. Now here, you'll be using Tuckman's theory, which I will show you in one of the slides. So that is for the team, that's basically for the team. And then so how do I go about improving my leadership styles? Name 4 factors that can influence or impede decision making. So remember, you got to explain. This is not just one-word answers. This is not like one sentence. You got to really delve into this. You got to do a thorough research so that your answer should be well researched, very poignant, and very really punchy. You want something punchy, something that shows that you are a diligent student and you have done your due diligence. And then you can see all these four factors, and then you can explain how today's leadership been affected by globalization. So if you understand what globalization is and technology, so globalization and technology, how have they affected the very leadership that you mentioned in number 1 and 2? So the leadership style that you mentioned, you're going to bring and say, well, technology, how is it affected? Maybe when people, leaders used to go and talk to their people face to face, with the advent of technology, they're probably now talking using all the technological facilities like, video conferencing, maybe webinars, and, texting and email, that's all technology as well. And they say the globalization. What do you mean that? Most companies today, they're so globally spread out, that they adopt different cultures and different systems, different everywhere. So you could have your boss in New York, and you could have a meeting with everyone around the world at a given time, either through video conferencing or teleconferencing, different models and different technology aspects that can be used for communication, holding meetings, and probably even for making suggestions. So that is now improved the way management works, where probably people will stay for 6 years without knowing who's the chief executive. Now they can see him, you can talk to him on the internet, you can talk to him here, whereas before they'll have to catch a flight, spend 24 hours on the road, trying to get to one part of the world. But now with technology and globalization has made it easier for companies and for leaders to communicate with their teams. So that's just part of synopsis of what you might have to be looking at. And you're going to look at then and say, provide an overview of group behavior, group behavior, and what considerations you need to make in relation to leading and promoting teams. How does the organization ensure the right performance is modeled across the company? So you're going to again look at, say, group behavior. Here we're talking about group think. So look at things like groupthink, research that. What is groupthink? Groupthink is where everybody will just agree to what has been suggested, because no one or people are afraid to differ with the accepted norm, because they don't want either to be thought of as different. And therefore groupthink it's like nobody's really thinking. One person says this and everybody like sheep, they go along with it. And so how does this affect the running of leadership? How does this affect the business? Well, we know that in every leadership style or in every organization, you need some voices that are, playing, like if you've done the different hats that you're wearing, you need somebody who's going to, let's call it playing the devil's advocate, looking at risks, sort of looking at things critically and asking questions. What if this happened? What if that happened? What contingencies do we have? Trying to really bring out a conversation that may be able to work out treatments for risks, mitigation for those hazards and dangers that are always there in any running of a business. And so those are the questions for assessment 1. And then how does empowering teams and individuals through delegation build and support teams? So it's a question like, tell us the advantages of delegation, right? That's what it's all about. Tell us what's the advantages of delegation. And outline 6 ways to foster positive, innovative work environment. How do you build a workable environment? How do you build an harmonious relationship with your workplace? And what are the ways you can do to ensure that you're a positive role model, right? If you want to be a positive role model, what are the things that you're going to do and maybe that you're already doing, and what should they do? So then you're going to give examples of how you served as a positive role model in your company, and if there was an incident in the organization that can prove of how you reacted, or you increase people's faith in you, in your leadership style, and how do you address certain difficult situations. And obviously you've got to name 10 things you cannot discriminate about in the workplace. Easy, 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 easy. All right, and let me just take you to a PowerPoint there before we go to the personal audit. Because on the personal audit, really, you're reading and filling in the form. There's leadership style, how I see myself. It's like, how do you see yourself? How do others see you? So it's simply, you can ask other people there to complete the form, and on your behalf, is saying the thing that we see you, how they see you in operation, or what they think of you, what views are there out about you. It's more like your 360 degrees feedback session. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, and so we can talk about some of the theories that I have there for you. Right. So as we said, assessment 1, your responses, may include reference to a leadership theory such as Fiedler's continuous model of leadership, Hansen Blanchard leadership, House's path goal leadership theory, or another. So look up these, find out the difference between Fiedler's and Hansen's, find out the difference also with House path goal theory, what really makes them unique, how do they differ from each other, what's the differentiation. For instance here, Fiedler's model assumes that group performance depends on leadership style. So what is this saying? It says, for any group of people, for any team to develop or to perform, it depends on the leadership style that is put upon them. And it depends on the situation as well. So I say the situation of favorableness is determined by 3 factors: the leader-member relationship. So how are the relationship between the members and their leader? So the degree to which a leader is accepted and supported by the group. So if the leader is accepted very well by the group and there's good relationships, so we can say how that group performs, probably definitely it will excel because they're in agreement with the leader and they are happy to be led, and the leadership style is something that they easily respond and understand. And task structure, the extent to which the task is structured, defined with clear goals and procedures. So if your leader is able to define the goals, is able to define the tasks, and is able to, lay out procedures that are easy for his team to follow, their performance obviously earns high marks and they achieve much more than what would have been expected. And then position power, the ability of a leader to control subordinates through reward and punishment. We all know that when there's a high reward, when the high stakes there, the performance is really high. Look at the Olympiads and look at guys that run in the athletics competitions, look at the tennis players, when they know there's $2 million right on the stick there, hey, the performance is really, really quite different. And look at tournaments where probably the prize money is $200 and when prize money is $1 million. And so the power that they put and the strength and the effort that they put in performing in order to succeed is obviously measured by the level of the reward. So the higher the reward, the higher the performance. In most companies, that's why you find that salespeople probably because of the reward that they're given, maybe high commission rate, maybe a holiday if they succeed or something. So the effort they put is, let's say, proportional to the reward they're going to get at the end of the deal. And let's go to the next one. So Hansen Blanchard situational theory. You got to look at the left-hand side, you go to the relationship behaviors, and right there, perpendicular, we've got a task behaviors. So you got participating style. So Hansen, they're saying the participating style, the sharing of ideas, then followers are able and unwilling if there is no sharing of ideas. If the sharing of ideas is very low, then you find that your followers are not confident, they're not willing to follow, all right? So the relationship, so the task behavior is low, and the relationship behavior here is high. And so let's go where task behavior is high. That means the task behavior is very selling style, explain decisions, followers are unable to follow, willing and confident. So Hansen Blanchard is talking about delegating style. So what is your participating style? What is your selling style? And what is your delegating style and telling style? So in your delegating style, whom do you turn over decisions? So if you are one of those leaders that that are happy to delegate, you find, your followers are able to learn new things, they're able to follow into new things, and because they've been given the opportunity to try things on their own, and they feel trusted, and that builds their confidence and builds their self-esteem. But if nothing is delegated to them, and they just feel like, well, the boss is, boss thinks he can do everything, wants to do everything, so your team never really gets to try out their hand. And how do you give instructions, right? The way you give instructions probably determine how they are heard, how they are listened to, and how they are responded to. And House's revised path goal theory. So path goal theory, it looks at leaders' behaviors, employee characteristics. So you gotta, if the leader is supportive and is value-based, achievement-oriented, and is group decision-making, networking. So if the leader has these qualities, and this is, it looks more at the value of the person and the value of the work and values what his team does. The employee characteristics, so this is going to match, right? So employee characteristics, task ability, achievement need, clarity needs, experience, and locus of control. So what are so these are the employee characteristics. So House is saying, when you look at this theory, you're going to create a path to achieve a goal. So this is a path goal theory. That means the path that leads to the success or the achievement of those goals. So what are the environmental factors? With the environmental factors that you look at the group dynamics, right? That means group behavioral patterns, the group culture and task culture has an effect, has an impact on how this the theory has an impact on how the team is led and the behavior of the team. And so the leadership effectiveness is leader's acceptance. How is he accepted? Employee motivation, that, you know, how are the employees motivated? Are they motivated by the rewards? Are they motivated maybe by self-fulfillment? And where do they derive their satisfaction from? The employee performance. So the leadership effectiveness that is derived from this will be, let's call it high employee motivation, high employee satisfaction, high employee performance, and the unit, that means the department, the unit performance increases. So the unit performance grows when you have the right environmental factors. And so you got to look at these 4 boxes and say, right, the leader and the employees, where are they at? And determine where they are at. And also that really gives us an indication of how this whole team is going to function. Assessment 2. So let's go to assessment 2. And as we discussed in assessment 2, here, you're going to read the case study. And in this case study, obviously, one of the questions they're asking is explain the group team development. What are the processes that the teams go through in developing and in growing? And Bruce Tuckman gave us a 5-model group formation. And this is a must when you answer any question regarding group formation or stages of model group. This is what they're asking for. When he says leadership theories, you know you're going to go pick up a leadership theory. And so you got to be careful, say, what is the question asking me to do? Or what do they want me to show? What do they want me to demonstrate? You got to demonstrate that you are not only that you are well read, but you are using some models that have been tried and tested in the academic field. So stage 1 of this model, Tuckman's model, is members get to know each other. So when a team is formed, people get together. The first thing is, you know, they're all nice to each other. They try and find out what's your name and how do you do, and what are you trying to achieve, and so forth. So they set the ground rules, guys. You get in a team, this is how we operate, this is what we do, and everybody's yes, yeah, I agree. And after a while, as the group begins to work together, we get into stage 2, where members come to resist control by group leaders or show hostility. So all of a sudden, they start by being happy, all these nicety things, and in stage 2, now they begin to resist some of the things they might have had, or resist some of the ideas that other people might be coming to the table, or what the leader might have. Now, the resistance is not really in terms of like hardcore, but, you know, in terms of body language, in terms of not sort of totally being up with it, and sort of being a little bit hesitant in playing along. And that begins to cause some friction, begin to cause some misunderstanding. And if the person leading you is really got emotional intelligence, he can pick it up that, hey, I think we need to iron out some few things here before everything disintegrates, and before the hostilities come right out and begin to manifest themselves in other areas of business. And so it's just 3 years people continue to work together. Members work together to develop close relationships. They have realized, okay, we're different. These are the areas in which we think differently. These are the areas in which we operate differently. And now what begins to happen is the team now begins to accept each other and begin to say, well, look, we have one goal, we have one choice, this is where we need to go, we need to achieve this, so why not work together? You find out they begin to find common ground, common denominator, because the common denominator is obviously either they're sharing the rewards, and they're in the same company, they've got the same goal, they want to achieve the same things, and then it will be, well, why don't you find a way to work together? Stage 4 is now where they're performing. Group members work together to work towards getting their jobs done. Like in a team effort, everybody now is working together to score a goal. And stage 5, that's where you got adjoining, group may disband, either after meeting their goals or because members leave. So happy ending, you end up working together, you score some big goals, and at the end of it, when you adjourn, it's like, okay, if it was a project we were doing, it's got a happy ending, everybody's happy, goals are achieved, and now you know whom to work with. So this is one of the models you really gotta be up and doing. So assessment 3, it is about, let's get to show you. This is about a speech. And let's share. Let's go to assessment 3. Where do we get assessment 3 here? We got 2, 3. That's assessment 3. Or maybe when you go to assessment 3, let's try. Before we go to assessment 3, let me just look at assessment 2. I don't think we had a good look at that. Yes, assessment 2, this is the structure case study on the company called Reckitt Benckiser. Right, this is the case study. This is what you need to be looking at. So there's a link that you're gonna go to, and you're gonna read this case study. And with this link, if you need a password, we have a password to talk to your business mentor. Say, can you send me a password? Can you send me a link to this? They will happily do so, so that you can read it and understand. Now, part A, read the case study, strategy, leadership, and company culture. And the instructions is outline the factors that contribute to the success of this company. So the factors are already in the case study, so you need there to refer to it when you answer, say, what are the factors that contributed to the merger, what was the overall aim of RB, and the main components of the strategy, and what were they, explain why innovation is important, explain why diversity is important, discuss how RB uses constructive conflict. It's a very interesting concept here, constructive conflict, which they have used there and to the benefit of the organization. So I really recommend that you get on board with this case study, read it as you would, and take some of these ideas that are in there to be your own on them. So most of the questions there, we're not going to go delve into it, because you're simply taking the answers from the case study. And from there, you got to write a project for the strategic plan. And so it's a hypothetical that you're going to write it. Competition is increasing in the Australian market, and the Australian companies decided to undergo a restructure. And the question is, what you're going to do with the restructure? How are you going to explain it to your workers, to your employees? And so when you read this, you're going to now write and say, what's the introduction? Your overall leadership strategy. What leadership strategy are you going to do? And you're going to talk about your mission and the vision. What is your mission? What is the vision of RBA? What do you want to achieve? What is your policy? And what sort of structure you're going to have in the new company? And like we said, this is just a hypothetical case. So put yourself in the shoes and say, you are now rebranding this organization and you are restructuring it. What would you do? Whom would you sort of put in charge, what are the things that you consider to be important, what will be your new mission, what will be your vision, what will be your objectives. And obviously, as a power brand, it's a very interesting thing that we can pick up from here. Now let's go to assessment 3, which we had been looking at some point. So this assessment 3, this is 1, 2, and 3. Let's try this. I think we're still on assessment 2. Oh, that's 3, yes. So assessment 3, what it is about a speech. So what you need to do here is, hypothetically, you are the newly named CEO of Australia Operations of Reckitt Benckiser Australia. Your executive team has been working very hard on a new strategic plan, which you did in task 2, and has come up with a comprehensive report as to how the new restructure will move forward. So now what you're going to do, individually, your task is to create a speech to all the employees of this division in Australia to explain and gain support for this new restructure. The employees will be going through a period of uncertainty, so they're looking to you to explain what it is. Your speech will be 5 minutes and recorded presentation of yourself to be uploaded. So the company is going through a restructure. You've been appointed to go to Australia. You're heading this division. And so some people are going to be laid off. Some people are going to remain. And you're going to have new heads of department. So people are worried. Obviously, this is a time when a lot of fears, a lot of fear-mongering is happening, a lot of things being said in the grapevine, and people are unsure of where you're going to take them to, and they don't know you. So in this 5-minute speech, you coming in to say, number one, speaking of your credentials, who am I? What have I done before? What are my qualifications? Why do I deserve this job? What makes me, or what made the company choose me? What made the company send me here to do this job? What is it that I have that others don't have? Right, so that's number one. Number two, where have I worked before? Where have I proven the things that I'm doing? You know, so you say, I've got these qualifications. I've worked in this particular place. These have been my achievements along the way. I've done this before. I've seen restructures. Hey, I'm confident we can go through. And then you're going to talk to them about, say, now you are instilling confidence into them. You're now saying, come on, guys, you know what the company wants to do is, this is its vision, this is its mission, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to support you. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get to the vision that we want and we achieve our mission. And so you're now speaking boldly about your future plans. You're speaking boldly about how you're going to lead everybody. And if you have your leadership style, you can say, hey, maybe you use path goal theory or Hansen Blanchard, or you're one of those guys who might say, well, you know what? This is my contingency plan that I have. This is the theory. This is my leadership style, open door policy, and this is what I come to do, and I'm confident we can do it. So you're going to really inspire them to do more. You're trying to motivate them. Remember, when the companies go through restructure, what's happening? A lot of people are deflated. A lot of people are demotivated. A lot of people are just ready to give up. Some are just saying, well, I can't wait to get out of here, or I just want to win my money and walk away. And so it's up to you now to revitalize, re-energize, re-inspire these people, put them back on track, make them look and see and believe that you're the man for the time, you're the man for the hour, you're the man for the moment, you're the man to take them to where the company needs to go. Hey, after this, you'll be asking me, so Fred, what is it that we need to do? Yes, what you need to do after that is, obviously, after you finish is, you're going to have to, from here, what do you do? You're going to have to do the assessment, and like I said, research on leadership theories, look at those, read your case study, and if you can understand your case study, to make it much easier when you go to assessment 2 and assessment 3, because then you'll be very much aware of what speech you're writing. Again, don't forget, in task 1, there's that personal leadership audit. So you're going to audit yourself and, send your friends some of those forms to complete, and so you can get a clear picture of who you are. If you've got any concerns or any question, hey, call us on 1300-050-589 or email the team at student_support@fceducationgroup.com. Hey, my name is Fred. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with me. I hope you're going to do this well and do it diligently and be a good student. Thank you very much for stopping by. Ciao.